Hi, I'm Whack.
Hi, and I'm Pat. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Weekly Orbit, the week ending Friday, February 2nd. So we're in the middle of winter. How's it going, Whack? We were just talking about offline about having infants sleep outside and like in Scandinavia, and I guess it's good
Yeah,
for the immune system. Have you been doing
it,
any of that?
I have not been doing any of that. We had like a horrendous winter snap last week where the temperatures got really, really cold, and
Hmm.
since then it's been quite mild. This we've gotten some snow that's been really pretty, but it's like melting away quite quickly, which is lovely, and it's actually been quite mild. So it just shows you how everything's getting warmer every winter now. Like you get those cold snaps, but it's not cold all the time. So
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, where I live, I remember back when I was a young man, a long time ago. I just remember it being snowy pretty much from Halloween
Mm,
until March, and
mm,
we would get a January thaw for like a
yeah.
week. It would be warm enough where a lot of the snowpack would melt, and then boom, we'd get hit again. So it was pretty much 5 months of snow, and
Mm.
now it's mostly green grass outside most of the winter here, and
Yeah,
occasionally you get our snowstorm, but it's
yeah,
definitely changing. And it's not.
absolutely.
I don't think it's a good thing. Kind
No,
of scary.
it's not. Yep.
But on the better things, let's go look at some of the rocket pool stats. Our deposit pool, I think last time we were over 18,000. It was
Hmm.
overflowing, but now we're back to equilibrium at 18,000. And we've
Yeah.
got, 3-digit deposits coming in. So we must have had some node operators add some mini pools to get that back down to 18,000.
Yeah, that's right. So we were a big chunk over. I think some of it got burned as well because on looking at the bi-weekly update from Mav on Wednesday, we actually went down by like 2000 RETH overall. So some of it was
Hmm.
maybe burned instead of all of it being used to spin up validators. But this actually puts us in a really good position right now for Eigenlayer opening their cap on the 5th, because hopefully it means that we'll get some good premium on the secondary market, and with the premium then will come hopefully a flood of new node operators, new validators. That's something that I'm looking at. So that's going to happen on the 5th of February, and
Hmm.
we're in a really good position for it right now. Like the worst thing would have been if we had thousands of our ETH overflowing in the deposit pool, but thankfully we don't have that. So hopefully we're in a good position to capitalize on that.
Yep. And that'll give opportunity for rocket arb, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. So the premium will go up. Rocket Arb will come onto the table. If gas prices are low, then you can expect to see people spinning up validators when the premium gets above 0.3%. Anything higher than that, really, and it's like more than paying for gas. So it becomes
Yeah,
profitable to start validators then.
definitely.
Mm.
Okay, let's look at RPL price. It's been a slightly down week overall in the market. Last week in ETH terms, we were at 0.0128, and as of this recording, we're at 0.01245. So
Mm.
down just a little bit.
Yeah.
What's happened with the market this week in general? I know we had the Federal Open Market Committee meeting yesterday with the Fed in the United States, and I wasn't paying attention closely, but then I saw markets went down, and I thought,
Hmm.
what happened? And it turns out the Fed didn't do anything. They didn't raise rates. I think they weren't expected to lower rates either. The expectation was they're just going to kind of keep it as is. But
Hmm.
perhaps Powell said something in his after remarks that concerned investors. What are your thoughts?
I think there's a grand conspiracy afoot because I got my grant this week and it was locked in at $30, and I knew that the price was going to go up into my grant getting locked, and then once my grant got locked, then the price was going to fall, and that's exactly what happened. So that's what it is. The whole market's conspiring to make my
Uh,
grant worth less. No,
There's a
it's
separate
like
subreddit where people are conspiracy against, or the
yeah, yeah,
conspiracy is
exactly.
being drawn up against whack.
Exactly. The whole of the world's forces are against me. But no, there's been like normal movements against the US dollar. We've been pretty much flat on the week. We're actually up just less than 1%. which is fine. Like against Ethereum, like we got up and down, and we've had a couple of good days this last week where we went up a little bit, like quite strongly, but then kind of went down again. And I think the market's just trying to establish what the next narrative was going to be. People were getting a little bit spooked because of the slightly hawkish stance of the Fed, saying that we're going to have 3 cuts this year. Previously, the market was trying to price in like between 5 and 7 cuts. So the first one of those potentially coming in March. Now it looks like the first one will probably come in May. So that's another 2 months of higher rates, and
Mhm.
it's kind of, it's not too surprising, but I think the markets were getting a little bit ahead of itself, and um, kind of pricing in a little bit more lax monetary policy going in towards like the second half of the year. And now it looks like that might take a little bit longer to come in. So it was just a slight moving around. The other narratives that we're looking at still kind of in play. The BTC ETF stuff's looking a little bit more healthy now, with GBTC not selling as much.
Yep.
The Denkun update went through on Sepolia this week, and that was a success, which was
Yep.
good. Next, we've got Haleshki next week, and then after that, maybe a month or so from now, or maybe 6 weeks, we should have Denkun live on mainnet, which will be really exciting. And there's all
Yeah.
this like really cool stuff happening. So it's just a temporary
Yeah.
setback. I think it's nothing too terrible.
Right. I agree with
Yeah,
that completely. We had a couple great blocks that came through the smoothing pool this week, Whack. This
yeah.
first one was for 39.5 ETH.
Hmm.
And then where's the second one I had? I had it here somewhere. Where are you? Uh, oh, there it is. And then we had
There
the
it is.
second one for 64.5 ETH. So
Hmm.
within a couple of days, over 100 ETH dropped into the smoothing pool.
Yeah,
And I got the updated figures here. Looks like we're at 228 ETH so far. We got about 14 days left until the next
yeah.
payout. So yeah, looking pretty good. Just it was kind of chipping away, block or an ETH here, an ETH there, and then boom, we get a couple of huge blocks. Has there been any? Does anybody know what those were? A lot of times these big blocks come in, it's because someone was doing something nefarious. But
No, I don't think it was
what
anything
have you heard?
from, yeah, from what I remember, it wasn't anything nefarious. For one of them, it was an NFT mint. That
Mm,
looking for owls shared the information about that, but I didn't look too closely at it. And for the other one, I'm not sure. I think it was just like some arb between two different services. I don't know exactly what happened with those, but normally, you get, there's something happening, like you said, and oftentimes it is something nefarious. But thankfully, neither of those. That was the case. That wasn't the case with either of those. And this month has actually been. It's on track for being a decent month. Like not an
yeah,
amazing month, but definitely a decent month. Much better than last month. Like we're already at, almost at last month's total. And we've still got another 10 days to go, I think, or something like that, or maybe even a bit
yeah,
longer.
a couple of
So
weeks. Yeah,
we're in a healthy position right now to end up with a good respectable month of like maybe 15 ETH a day or something like that. We're on track for that, which is decent. Um, Hopefully we'll get a few more big blocks, and I hit that all-time high month. But the market volatility really isn't there at the moment, and the on-chain activity doesn't really support that happening or being likely. But even what we see now is
hmm
pretty respectable, so it's not bad.
okay, great. So let's move on to the next uh, stat we have now. Rocket Pool. Last week we talked a whole bunch about client diversity within Ethereum, and Rocket Pool is doing really well. This is a um, distribution chart I pulled up, and now the way this works, Whack, correct me if I'm wrong, is the way they measure this is by when a node gets a proposal, we can scan and know which consensus or execution clients they were using. If they haven't got a proposal, then we don't know what's kind of in the dark. So this is kind of a best guess. Um, so looking at the chart as is, we've got quite a nice distribution. Here's consensus clients. Looks like we've got about a third with Teku, about a third with Lighthouse, and then Nimbus coming in at third place. If we take a look at our execution, we were talking all about Geth last week. Geth is at about 22%, Nethermind 17%, Bezu about 38%. So overall, Rocketpool is really leading the pack here in terms of diversity of clients. I think this is something the community should be really proud of. And we walk the talk, and we walk the walk. I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So just one small clarification is on the smart node stack, which is the software that Rocket Pool node operators run, when you have a proposal, you have a graffiti that you publish to the beacon chain. That's like, your little, I was here, like, this is who I am kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Pool sets it as a default that it tells it tells, your graffiti tells you what version of the software you're running of the smart node stack. And it also tells you the client combination that you're using. So it'll use a code for the consensus client and it'll use a code for the execution client. So that's how we get the information on Rocket Pool. What people can do, of course, is lie and change that because it's open source software, so they can remove that graffiti and cover it with something else. But
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't think that's like a thing that many people, if any people, do. They just leave it as the default the way it is, and that just tells you like how strong it is that people in the Rocket Pool community take client diversity seriously. Like the fact
Yeah.
that Bisu has on node operators is the biggest node operator client is absolutely amazing, because on Ethereum it's at around 4% of the network, and a Rocket Pool is
Mm-hmm.
38% of the network, which is astonishing. That's really, really
Right.
great. There's some interesting information you can get from the actual data here as well. Just like having a little bit of a deeper look at it, you can see that by mini pool, Bisu is third, right? Like with 22% of mini pools, but with the node operators, it's strongly ahead. So it
Mm-hmm.
seems like a lot of small node operators are using
Yep.
Bisu, and then some of the bigger ones may be using Geth or Nethermind, and that's a really interesting little have a look at that as well. But this data looks amazing. Like there's no two ways about it. Like this is what we wish the Ethereum, beacon chain will be as a whole. This will be a much healthier situation. It's actually really funny because Bisu here being above 33% would actually cause finality issues if there was a bug. So, which is just astonishing to think of that, because Bisu, of course, is one of the smaller clients. So it's
Sure.
really, really cool to see that that's the position that we're in. So, yeah. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't because
Well,
of the validator count, but like, yeah, it's still pretty cool.
yeah, all nodes they've switched over 100% to Bezu, and I know that
Mm-hmm.
that makes up a good chunk of Rocket Pool nodes. So
Yep.
that probably explains the large amount of at
Yeah.
38%.
And
A good
then
chunk of
this,
that is all nodes.
but it might not be. Well, we're still waiting for the data, right? Because once they get the
Yeah.
proposals and then you link it to the node operators, and like that's how you have to piece the data together. So there's still uncertainties, and it takes a little while for the changes to be reflected in the data that's gathered.
Yeah.
But it's still a really strong position, and it might even get stronger still. So it's really cool to see.
Right. It's
Yeah.
be good to check in a few months, right after,
Absolutely.
because it can take, well, it can take a 8, 9, 10, 11 months to get a proposal, or it
Yeah.
could take a week. It's just totally
Yeah.
random. But as I think as time goes on, we'll have a better feel. But I mean, looking at the preliminary data here, this looks really healthy, and I'm really proud of Rocket Pool. And hopefully, we'll get some of the big movers like Coinbase, Kraken, to switch over their nodes to something besides Geth. And I
Yeah.
know Lido's made some progress, and hope they continue as well.
I think getting Coinbase to switch 100% to Nethermind or Bisu would be amazing. And I think that would be, then I think like we won't all chill, but then we could kind of breathe a small sigh of relief, because that would take us under the supermajority thresholds for Geth, which would be amazing.
Yep.
And that's where we want to be, because at that point, then even if there is a bug with Geth, it wouldn't impact finality, which is what would happen right now. And that's the scary situation. So, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Now on to our big news item. Our news items of the week. We have got this Twitter drama continues, unfortunately, for the Rocket Pool handle or on the Twitter, which has been out of the team's control for a few weeks now. And so there was the team published kind of a log of what has occurred to date. And Jasper here retweets it. And it's, you went through some of this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but essentially, this all started January 11th. And they had noticed that the team had been forcefully logged out of their Rocket Pool Twitter session. And then from there, they made multiple inquiries to the support team there at Twitter to get this back in control of the team. Continually, they just get their case closed within 24 hours. It's almost like no one even looked at it. They used a white hat that the team apparently knows, approached them and say, hey, I know somebody at Twitter, and they paid this person 3 ETH to see what they could do. There was a little bit of progress because I think they, at least the post stopped. So Rocket Pool stopped posting these scams for a few days, but then it started all back again. And so the conclusion was, they state, quote, at this point, we will allow everyone to draw their own conclusions based on the above. An account that had no warning of strange logins, details being changed, and all with hardware with two-factor authentication enabled. We have no evidence of anything else that might indicate a failure on the team's behalf. It has been a very frustrating and eye-opening experience. Given the above and absolutely horrendous support offered by Twitter, we will be strongly considering removing our account from Twitter and starting a new account on another platform to be mentioned soon. So,
Yep.
I don't know how they're going to do that in terms of like, we're going to remove our account. Well, it doesn't sound like they don't have their account, right? I don't know how they're going to remove it. But it sounds like they're going to possibly be moving to Farcaster, which is our next item here. Peterus he started a Rocket Pool channel on Warpcast or Farcaster. So we'll get into that in just a second. But do you have any thoughts about this whole Twitter thing? It just seems like when Elon Musk bought the Twitter company, he immediately went in. They fired like 80% of folks. Doesn't seem like anyone is working in security, or perhaps a very small team. Every other ad I see is just a scam looking to drain my wallet. The thing the analogy I think of is, imagine if you had a retail store and you as the owner allowed thieves in your store to set up shop in the aisles, who then would rob from your customers who walk in. I mean, essentially that's what Twitter's doing. They allow all this criminal behavior to happen right under their nose, and they know it. So, man, what do you think?
It's like Jasper says, it's dog shit. Simple as that. Like the situation that we find ourselves in now is atrocious. It's like horrible that the people have lost thousands of dollars because of this. Like they've been robbed basically because of Twitter's incompetence. Now there was some, like, after they paid the 3 ETH to get into the contact who helped them out, they actually did get control of their account back, but they were still in that make sure that everything is okay phase before it got hacked again, basically with a third party getting added to the people who could post to it. It was an absolute mess. It's horrendous. So I guess if I was the team, I wouldn't have paid 3 ETH to begin with. But the idea that they had was that people have been robbed, right? Like this is caused damage, like in thousands or potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, and because of that, they felt they had an obligation to try to resolve it as quickly as possible, using whatever means possible. Which is sad, but like understandable. But then it happened again, and that the second time is like, there was a person added to the delegates list that shouldn't have been. and nobody from the team added that person, even though they changed all the passwords, they changed the 2FA system, they reset it all, they're logged out of any external access provided. Is yeah right at the bottom over here, a week later, and that's where we are right now. So even though the team technically has control of the password, the Twitter itself logged them out for suspicious behavior, and now they can't get back in. So it's just a clusterfuck. Pardon my language.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
everything that could go wrong has gone wrong with the situation, and there was grumblings that this shouldn't have happened and the team should have had more precautions in place and stuff. But I think everything that I hear just makes me think that this is there's some corruption inside Twitter or some kind of
Yeah,
bug or something that people are exploiting, and it's where we stand, and that is really sad. But I can't shake that. That's the reality of the situation, and it's just horrendous. Like it's truly horrendous. So,
yeah.
Farcaster, here we come.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So Peter has set this up. Rocket Pool. So the way that if you haven't used Farcaster before, um, there's kind of a general feed you get, but then there's separate channels, almost like subreddits in a way,
Hmm.
right? The way Reddit is set up, and so
Yeah.
you can join. And there's topics about everything. I personally, I'm on Ethereum channel, now the Rocket Pool channel, but I have interests about space. So there's a space channel, which like people post really interesting things. Before our recording today, I was on there. I was watching a really cool YouTube video someone had posted in space about the Voyager 2 spacecraft that had visited all our outer planets. Something that I'm interested in. Um, but it's slowly been expanding over the last year, and now I think that there's kind of and I don't know, people are starting to migrate slowly. So let's talk about migration. I know here's you posted your rocket fuel um, show. I think this was yesterday, and I've been using it for about 6 months, and I try to use it more and more. But now with this Twitter's just gone to hell, and I don't see any reason why it's going to change towards better. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
like Twitter's not made any announcements. They're going to be rehiring security professionals, anything like that. So, what do you think about migration? Let me back up. One thing I wanted to say was the problem with Web two is that you can't take your followers with you, right?
Hmm.
So it's hard to restart gaining followers. Whereas hopefully with Web3, you kind of own your identity and you kind of move
Yeah.
around.
Social graph. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? This migration, is it going to be sustainable? Do you think folks are going to really pull away from Twitter?
Yeah. So Farcaster has really reached like a public kind of, it's captured attention at the moment, and it's like really taking advantage of that. So for the last 4 days in a row, they've been hitting all-time highs in terms of audience numbers and people
Mm,
interacting with the app. Over 10,000 people a day, and every day it's getting higher and higher. And it kind of like reminds me of a crypto chart that's kind of going vertical, which is really cool to see.
yeah.
But the main thing will be like, how sustainable is this? Like, is this possible for them to keep that attention? Like, you're seeing more and more people now on Twitter kind of saying, I'm done with Twitter, I'm moving to Farcaster, and more people are kind of like trying to put their feet on both boats kind of thing, and trying to post on both bases. I think most people are kind of in that position right now where they're kind of cross posting. So they'll post something to Twitter, they'll also post it to Farcaster. It's not many people who've kind of like left Twitter altogether and just joined Farcaster, but that I think will be the interesting thing to see in the next few weeks, to see if that's the kind of thing that happens. A couple of people are kind of saying, oh, we shouldn't be doing this because Twitter is still where crypto as a whole congregates. And by Ethereans leaving Twitter and going to Farcaster, there'll be no one left behind to kind of say, hey, ETH is still doing cool things and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm,
Like, there still needs to be people kind of spreading the word of Ethereum on Twitter to those other audiences who might not know about Farcaster or care about Farcaster. Um, So there's some ideas that are kind of going back and forth about that, but I think that Twitter is a hot mess, and the sooner everyone moves away from Twitter, the better it is.
Yeah.
And maybe Farcaster will be that solution. I don't know for sure, but it's pretty cool that at least now we have. It seems like some kind of movement towards it, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
discussions, I follow, they're all high quality. You
Mhm.
don't have all these bots, polluting the feed. So
Replies. Yeah.
yeah, try it out. If you haven't tried Farcaster, give it a shot. I think
I
it's got a
they
good future.
they just opened up a free signing as well for people in certain countries. So some
Yep.
European countries in the USA. So there's no $5 fee now as well if you want to sign up for it. So that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah.
And the $5 fee, it's an annual, it's a one time $5. It's not $5 per month. It's like $5 for the year. So it's
Yeah.
nominal. But as you said, you can sign up free for a time.
Yeah.
Okay. Our final news item of the week, we had the GMC gave out some money from round 8. And there was your show, of course. There was Ken, his side workshop
Denver
liftoff
liftoff.
was also was approved. We'll talk about that more in the coming weeks before ETH Denver. Um, Jasper's, Eigenlayer integration was looks like it was approved as well, and this was probably the most talked about one of all
Hmm.
the proposals. And one thing I want to mention about just talking about Eigenlayer real quick. There's been some back and forth between community members. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for Ethereum, for Rocket Pool? And one of the critics of Eigenlayer has been Valdorf. And in response, this post was in a feed discussing Jasper's proposal, and
Hmm.
Brianna from the Eigenlabs team chimed in, and I thought this was really interesting. It kind of made me raise an eyebrow. She says we are genuinely excited about this proposal. This is Jasper's proposal, and there's strong internal support for it within our team. At Eigenlabs, we are deeply committed to the principle of decentralization, which has been a recurrent theme in numerous mechanism design talks we have given at Ethereum events. Valdorf, we completely understand your perspective and the concerns you may have regarding Eigenlayer. Nevertheless, we have full confidence that once you know the people behind the labs and their inspiring vision for the future, your perception of the protocol will change as well. That's why we would be happy to schedule a call with you to talk about the questions you've raised. This call can be open to all RPL community members who wish to participate. Let me know. Valdorf writes back, I appreciate the note, but no thank you. I prefer text. I find it personally convenient, and there is something to reference left behind. And he says, this is a concerning take. And he's referencing um, when she said, we have full confidence that once you know the people behind the labs. He says, my opinion of the protocol and its action should only indirectly and lightly depend on the people involved. I would hope that I would judge a protocol that has done the same thing the same way, regardless if it was being run by my best friends, strangers, decentralization maxis, or a centralized party. So, this reminds me of, well, first of all, that quote, it just kind of spelled out to me, trust us. Hey, you should trust us, right? We're Eigenlayer. Now, I think there's some good people at Eigenlayer, but I just feel like we should be careful and proceed cautiously. And I just this quote to me, frankly, it just comes across as kind of naive. That if you just get to know us, I mean, I think I'm a good guy, Whack, but that doesn't mean you should trust me about writing code. I don't know. I thought that was kind of an insight, and this is someone from the team that the ethos of Rocket Pool and Ethereum at large is this is a trustless system. We shouldn't have to trust people. And the fact that they kind of said that, I don't know, they kind of raised an eyebrow for me. So, um, do you have any thoughts?
I don't really have many thoughts about this directly. I guess people can draw their own conclusions and put their own perspectives on this discussion. One thing to note though is that there was a whole lot of discussion about this Eigenlayer integration, and people took it very seriously. There were opinions on both sides
Yep.
about whether it should proceed or whether it shouldn't proceed. The GMC actually members like voted, within ourselves to um, extend the deadline by a couple of days just so we could kind of hash out some more discussions. So there was a whole lot going on with this grant, like, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, and with this, this bounty application. And finally, I feel like, the different groups kind of were able to reach a position where we felt this might be a good way to go forward, which is starting with some research that's going to take, some weeks or months. And that's kind of the springboard then for the work that will come later. So I think,
Mhm.
this was just part of some of the discussion going back and forth, and I'm happy that it seems like, we're in a position where we've made some good progress, but we're still within the challenge period. So if any community members do want to challenge this bounty being approved, then they'll have, another week and a bit, I think, to write that RPIP, and then it'll go to a vote for the whole community. So for a moment there, it looked like this was going to be challenged, whether it was approved or denied. But now I'm not sure where we stand. But the GMC, we feel like we did our due diligence, and we really
Mhm.
tried to hear all the different sides of the argument and the perspectives, and reached our decision in the end, pretty strongly in terms of member division on approving this bounty. But I think that, there's a lot going on in like the wider Ethereum space about Eigenlayer, and a lot going on about, where it stands and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and all of that kind of stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all goes forward. But yeah, that was a fun one for GMC members. So listen in the retrospective for this month, and you're going to hear you're going to hear a lot of ideas. And just like anybody, the GMC is made up of 9 people, and we had conflicting opinions about what we should be doing with this, and different people were presenting, very strong and valid arguments for both sides. And then in
Yep.
the end, the cautious acceptance kind of won out, and that's where we are now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Rocket Pool integrates with Eigenlayer in the coming year. Basically, I think we need in the end it was decided basically we'll need with forced exits, EIP
Mhm.
7002 to go through before we could really take this on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our wins. What's your win for the week?
My win for the week is a really great conversation I had yesterday with someone, and it was really great that I was able to talk to someone about crypto in such a fun and open way, and someone who I shared a lot of values about crypto with, and
Mhm.
it was really good time for me. So I really enjoyed that. That was a win for me.
Cool. Yeah, my win for the week was, I think it's going to be Farcaster. I think
Mm,
that they've had their head down. They've been working hard, the team, to create a alternative social media um, brand. You're competing with behemoths like Instagram and Threads and Twitter, and they really seem to be growing organically.
mm,
And this whole thing with Twitter with Rocket Pool, for me, has really shed a light upon Farcaster, and the good work that they're doing over there. And they're
yeah.
below. It's there's no farming going on. There's well, I shouldn't say none, but very little farming. There's always farming. Someone's always thinking, oh, could there be a token? But
Hmm.
generally speaking, they've just been growing organically and trying to do it
Yeah.
the right way. And there's, as you said, over 10,000 users per day. They hit the other this week. So yeah, that's my win. Good for them, and I hope they continue.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's been a good
Excellent.
week.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. Before you close that window, people, make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps us. And until next week, Whack, we'll see you. And everyone, thanks for listening and watching, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.